Hi, it's Sue Reed again, and I haven't made it to my garden yet, so I'm with my pup right now, my little therapy pup. So, so many different things to talk about, but I guess one of the things that's really important that's going to come up again and again is um, stuff I'm dealing with firsthand right now, still, even after a lot of efforts and work on healing oneself. Is when you come from a sexual abuse background, um, what people aren't going to understand is how psychologically impacted you become. And I know for me, again, because the impact began so early and I didn't go through my proper growth stages of self-esteem, of things like that. And when porn was introduced at a young age, it completely annihilated my self-esteem. It created triggers that would affect my relationship later on, or many relationships, but mostly the person that I would be in love with. And they don't know what's going on in your head. They don't know the insecurities. They don't know how you feel about yourself and why you do the things you do. It's like living in a fog. You're reactive as a result of what's been done to you. You lose all sense of self-esteem, power, control over your life. If it happens young enough, then it certainly, and depending by whom, it can cause you to completely shut down, lose your identity completely. So you become like a shell. You're always looking to get out, a way to either numb or, disguise how you feel. You feel like, well, I always felt like nobody would ever understand. I just felt bad all the time. Like I am a horrible, rotten person that nobody could love. And, wow. And it's hard to come out of that because that's what I thought was reality at that time. And it was like living two lives, because when you go out and you work or you integrate with people, there's a whole backstory you can't talk about. There's a whole life that you don't fully understand what happened to you. And so how can anyone else? And it's the hardest thing when you're in a relationship, because you can't, if you haven't gone through the healing stages and see yourself before and after, you don't know what's damaged inside yet. You don't know. You're just always trying to stay ahead. I remember for me, I would sort of emulate what I should be doing, being responsible, being a professional, being something people would not think twice about. How I really felt inside was weird, ugly, unaccepted, hateful of myself, wanting to hide, like my opinion counted for nothing, like I was just a piece of trash that didn't deserve to walk the earth. And from standing in a bunch of people and everybody's having their say in something, I would just be quiet and hide, and I wouldn't speak. I would just let them, and I would say, acknowledge how great, whatever it is they had to say was, and that was it. Wouldn't add to the conversation. I mean, again, there were times that the fine line is when you're codependent. Essentially, you are taught to care for others before yourself, so you never learn those skills. And then when you grow up, you don't realize that you in a relationship, you become codependent on that person to fill your voids. And I remember when I started coming out of, or realized the codependency part, it was shocking to me, because you'll cling to anyone in a sense, whether they're good or bad for you, whether they are in bad, I don't mean a bad person. I mean like, someone who doesn't understand you well enough to help you through the process, or add value to your situation. They may not know it. But you can cling on to somebody for dear life and not even understand it, even being in a relationship, because you don't want to bother them. They've already taken care of you, so you feel like, or I felt like, I can't burden him with any more, so I'll, see if there's someone else there that can pick up the slack, when he's off duty. And it's really hard because you don't realize it, and then you're affecting another life who may not understand it. And sometimes what happens is, I used to call it like the underground people. I felt like an underground person where I had all these secrets and all this shame and all this other life that that no one would ever understand. So it's easier to just like let go among the undergrounds, like myself. It's very damaging, and the energy that it takes to live like these two lives where you don't understand what's wrong with you. You don't understand why you can't do what other people do. Even just working a 9-to-5 job is like near impossible. I mean, again, I have the ADD, so my kind of work is different than somebody without it, for example. And that's a whole other topic, like over and over again. And it's not to say it's a bad thing. I always want to say that ADDers have a lot of talents, a lot of gifts, and a lot of insight for the world, and a lot of gifts, a lot of them. But it takes years to figure that out, because our society is one way, and the ADDs are almost the opposite. So I mean that with the most love. I've seen many girls struggle with this. I've seen what happens. I know in my own life how I tried so hard. I would always say, I'm trying so hard, God, to be good. I'm trying so hard, to do what's expected of me, to be a good person. And I always felt like a bad person. I always felt like people were looking at me with shame and guilt that I already felt for myself. You mirror what you feel about yourself is what you get back from other people, and you don't even know it. Because you want, subconsciously, because you're rewired and your brain didn't develop properly, you want people to almost subscribe to your way of thinking. That way it justifies, oh yes, I am bad. Oh yes, that's the way I was made. But there was always something inside of me that kept saying, but you're not bad. You do for people, you love people, you care for them genuinely, and so forth. But those around you do not know the struggle you're in. They don't know. And if you don't know, you can't explain it. And even when it comes to light, there's the fact of whatever you've done, whatever's happened to you in your life, the other people don't understand, so they may still blame, they may still point fingers, they may still think you're the same person. And so it's almost like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But that's just kind of one stage of it. Eventually, I'm sure it will get better to where that's not a fact anymore. But so just wanted to talk about that a little bit. If anybody out there has struggled with that, I know it's been a huge part of my life, the only part of my life for over 50 years. So next couple of videos I could talk about kind of some of the things I had to go through these awakenings, to find out that I wasn't bad and I wasn't this horribly disfigured person, even physically. That's how I felt growing up, was a disfigured, unworthy, unwanted, unlovable, ugly person. And so, all right, I'm hitting that mark now. So thank you for tuning in, and love to all, and signing out. Bye.